Hello Internet, welcome back to our Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead series. In the last episode we headed into town. We've been doing a lot of vehicle work lately and we wanted to shake things up. So first we went back to this military surplus store that we had seen previously. It was all boarded up, so we broke our way in just to see if any items were left behind. Ultimately we came away with just one single MRE, so not a huge haul there. We continued to the south and eventually made our way to an open sewer where there were 3 technician zombies. Now these zombies do have CBMs, so we killed all 3 of them and then dissected their corpses. We did come away with a pair of CBMs, the most notable of which was the power storage CBM, so nothing really exceptional. And then on our way back to base, we stopped at a local animal shelter to harvest some meat. And that's all I'm going to say about that. You know, it's very sad, but again, we filled our freezer with pets. All right, Internet, let's just get back into it. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the game. So I think we're preparing, we're kind of gearing up here towards the end of our stay in this base location, I think. Honestly, we've established ourselves in the game pretty significantly. All we really need at this point are some science labs. You know, we have conceivably almost every loot item that we would want from the game. I can't really think of anything that I desperately need that I don't already have. There's always room for improvement. We could upgrade our weapon a little bit further if we could find, you know, some nice fab books. And if we come across a school or a bookstore, we of course will check that out. What is this? It's another golf course. Man, these people like golf out in this area because we spawned over here. Wow, why is my game jittery? I did install some RAM today. I doubled my RAM. I don't see how that could possibly have any impact on on me playing Cataclysm. Seems like a game that's not super RAM intensive, but whatever. So getting a little jitters. Not sure what that's about. Surely unrelated. Anyway, so we found a lot of stuff. I mean, there's always room for upgrades, but ultimately what I'm looking for at this point is a science lab. And again, they're located kind of on these random spokes in rural map gen. So I think we ought to detour up here and just see what these are. We've had no luck so far finding any labs. I think this double connector here would not be a lab, but that's really the only other area close by that we could check. When we gear up to leave, we're going to have to drive through this massive town, which is just such a headache. I hate... Oh, they're not even connect... Oh, no, they do connect. Only this road connects. So we would have to come down this way. And then, honestly, I would just drive through town until I got to the edge. And then we would just settle into a new base over here and then begin looting this area of the town. Now, we are mobile, so we can stay in our base in our vehicle as long as we need to. But I really do prefer having like an actual base. I don't know why. I just like having an indoor stove, knowing that I have a roof over my head, that sort of thing. Anyway, we've been looking at the map screen long enough. All right, well, we were in the process of crafting a drill a couple of episodes ago. I don't think we finished that. How much is left? 58%. This is going to be hard work. Is there anything else we want to loot kind of before we go back to crafting and vehicle work? Probably not, right? We've been all over this area at this point. So clothing store over here means nothing to me. Pawn shop actually can have some good stuff. It's across the street from a park though. Not only one park, but 2 parks. So that's not going to be something I want to visit. And again, that raises my main issue with parks is that they kind of lock you out of the surrounding area just due to their monster density. Kind of sucks a lot of the fun out of exploring in my mind. So I think we will just dive into some vehicle work here. We want to craft this drill so we can put a tank in our vehicle, which we will drive over here to this little puddle if we're able to. Wasn't there a puddle right here? We're going to find ourselves a water tile so that we can fill that tank with water. It doesn't need to be clean water. We'll be just fine. Also, I want to repair my vehicle. Someone pointed this out in the comments, and it was something I had intended. I remember quite a few episodes ago, I had tried to repair my engine, but I didn't have glare protection, I think. And very loud vehicle today, driving by my house. And I said about relocating our engine to the rear of the vehicle. I don't know that we're going to do that. That's just work for really not that much benefit. But we definitely want to repair it because engines in Cataclysm, their output power. So if I turn this on, it generates a certain like quantifiable amount of power. that we would see reflected in our battery charge and the alternator and all that. And that's a product of the engine's damage. The more damaged an engine is, the less power it outputs. Same with an alternator. I believe they convert less power when they are damaged. So we would be basically, instead of converting at 100%, if it's fully, I mean, it doesn't, basically your engine runs, it generates power through burning gas and all that stuff. And then the alternator converts that into electrical power for your vehicle, is my understanding. So if it's not at peak efficiency, we're going to get less battery charge when we run the vehicle. Now, for us, that's not a huge deal. So the alternator is not a big deal when we have so many solar panels. But the engine itself outputting power is important, because the heavier our vehicle gets, the harder it will be for the engine to move our big vehicle. Anyway, so someone in the comments was like, hey, why don't you go through and repair your vehicle? And we're going to do that. It is tedious to do this and very boring to just hit R repeatedly and repair every tile, but we're going to do that. I guess we'll get a question so we have something to talk about. But yeah, we want to repair things. And I want to start with the engine and make sure I get that done so that I'm not worried about losing power or anything, or not being able to move my vehicle in an emergency situation. So we wanted to do that. Why don't we work on our craft? Why don't we get a random question? Been a while since I recorded. Personal life stuff is going real terrible, and I'm trying to not think about it. So we're just going to talk about random questions and try to avoid the darkness. Just having a rough time. My friend's kid passed away. Well, I say kid, his son passed away. Someone was about my age. I don't know why that hit me so hard. I didn't even really know him very well. It just, we shouldn't talk about it. It's death. It's very dark. Let's pick something else. I get a question. Do you think the future will be brighter or darker than today? I think it depends on your interpretation of like brighter and darker or whatever. What does it say? Oh, I lost the question. Will it be brighter or darker than today? I think it depends on your interpretation. If you're someone who is like very fearful of technology and, it's really fascinating. So I was reading a study recently that said that basically, for those that don't, I've talked about it at length, but my brother has some mental health issues, and I've been around a lot of people, particularly people who have schizophrenia. So it's always been something that is interesting to me. I like to understand as best I can kind of what's going on with people, and I do believe this most recent time my brother was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I like to read about things like that. I like to understand as much as I can so that I can be an ally. Obviously, my brother and I have had a lot of issues over the last few months, which we've talked about at length on the channel. But I try to stay informed, and I try to be an ally to people that tend to be marginalized. But anyway, I was reading an article about how historically, we'll take this hand drill. Let's just put the tank in now. Historically, people with delusions are generally focused on religion. Like if you look back over the last 50 years, the majority of delusions are centered around God and the devil. And then in this study, they were talking about how that has gradually shifted over time to where now the majority of paranoid delusions are about the government and people watching you and the advancement of technology. So I do think there are a lot of people out there who are genuinely fearful of losing their private information and their concept of privacy, and everything you do online is monitored and that sort of stuff. And I think there are a lot of people who have a healthy fear of that, myself included. I don't like, we've talked about it at length about why I don't have a face cam, and part of that, not a big part, I guess. The main part is just I don't want people seeing me, and I can record like I am now, kind of shirtless and my hair a mess and all that, and I don't have to worry about, looking pretty for people. But part of that is the fact that all of your personal information is out there in the world. So if somebody had a picture of me, they would be able to track down where I live, and that's a very scary prospect to me. So I think that there are people who kind of have a fear of technology and the advancement of technology and losing your privacy and things like that. So I think for those people, I do think the future is not great, because I do think that those things will continue to be they're gonna become more and more of an issue as time progresses. I don't think that that's going to go away anytime soon. I think in the future, perhaps, far in the future, but in the future, I believe that, even down to your DNA, I think will be out there. And I don't know how most people feel about it, but when I think about people, why am I not? Oh, we have a filter, don't we? Get rid of that filter. So we're going to put this hand jack in our vehicle for later. And we're going to go out and see if we can find a water tile here to fill that tank up. There is one here. I don't think it's close enough because we can't drive over these deep pits. I'd have to fill them in. Otherwise, we could pull right up here. I don't know. Can you drive over pits? I wouldn't try it. We can come in from the north, I guess, although it would be very difficult to back out of there. Let's just look for a different water tile. So, like, I don't know how other people feel about it, but I do feel like in the future, your DNA, for instance, is going to be just, like, public knowledge, right? With the... Oh, well, we have those DNA analysis websites that, Ancestry.com, and what's the other one? Something in Me, I think is the name of it. But I think that, like, in the future, your entire, like, family history and all your DNA and all that stuff will be out there. So, like, literally on a genetic level, your privacy is going to be not available. So I do think that for some people who view that as very scary and kind of, a dangerous or traumatic experience to have something like that happen, I think that for those people, the future is very, very dark. For me, I kind of think that the future's pretty bright. I think that my future, one, I think I have nowhere to go but up. We talk about it all the time. I'm basically a, do I need a hose for this? I do have a hose in my inventory. How do I do this? Fill nearby vehicle car. There we go. Nice big tank of water. In fact, honestly, we should have just put like 2 more tanks in this. Why don't we look here? I don't like external tanks. I wonder, do you have any interior tanks? You have a 10 liter. That's not going to do it for me. Let's go source another tank here. And we'll just bring it out here to our vehicle so we can fill that with water as well. We really don't need 2 tanks of water. Honestly, we should just use gas. If we're going to have multiple tanks, we should use it for fuel. So we'll just drive out of here, I guess. But for me, like we talk about it, I'm pretty poor. And I operate at a level where, honestly, most of you would be... Like, I hesitate always to say how much I make because people make so much more money than me, and it's like a pathetic amount, my income. Like, there are people, so with the global stuff that's been going on, in the United States, there was bonus support for people who were on unemployment, and the amount of bonus support was more than I make a week. So, like, not even what they were paid for unemployment, but like the bonus money. So many people that I know were making double or triple what I make every week, and I'm here working 7 days a week and they are on unemployment. So, like, I don't make very much money. So for me, it's hard to conceive of a world where I do worse than I do now. Like, yes, I could lose my home, my family could pass away, I could be completely left to live on the street. That's definitely something that could happen. Doesn't seem very likely, to be perfectly honest. I've done the live in my car thing before. I lived in my car, not for a long time. Like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I know what it's like to be living on the street, because I don't. But I did spend about 6 weeks living in my car at one point, which is nothing, by the way. I'm not saying that's like a lot of time or anything, but it's something that could happen, But is it likely? I don't think so. I think I really have nowhere to go but up, basically. Like, we talk about business stuff all the time. We're not going to talk about that now, but like, I just imagine my future is better than my present. It has to be, can't get much worse. I've been through so much horrible trauma and life experience and everything. I think I'm going to probably be just fine. It's just a matter of time and effort and work and all that stuff. So financially, I think my future is pretty much going to be brighter no matter what than my present. And then from like a personal standpoint, I mean, same thing, right? Like, I currently have I don't date anyone. I haven't had a relationship in about, well, geez, probably like 2014. What year is it? It's been like 6 or 7 years since, no, not 2014. It would have been more like 2016, but it's been years, right? And mostly it's because I just don't care. Like, I don't go out much. I like being around people, but it makes me tired and makes me kind of feel exhausted. And relationships are a lot of work, and I've been working on myself, and sometimes I wonder if I'm asexual. I don't know how to feel about things. Like, I miss companionship, but I have like no drive to be intimate with some. This is a weird conversation. I don't know what my relationship future looks like, but currently I have 0. So like it would be impossible to have less personal relationship than what I have now. So again, just sort of nowhere to go but up, basically. You know, so I don't know. And like the literal future, because I think the question means more like with the advancement of technology and possibly colonizing other planets and that sort of thing. I think that's the intent. Like, what was the question? Do you think the future will be brighter or darker than today? My brain goes to like the future of humanity, not so much my personal future. It's like the future of humanity. I mean, global warming is a very real threat. I know no one likes to talk about it. People get all fussy and say, oh, that's not real. But like, I don't know. I think that's a very real threat to our species. Other than that, I think with technology rapidly advancing, again, we talked recently in a video about the development of AI over the last, you know, how many years. I think that it's just so much potential for humanity. Quantum computing is something that people are actively, you know, working towards. Like, I don't know where that's at all. So don't quote me if I am completely wrong. But like, I know that's something that they're getting closer to. We're developing all kinds of really cool, like, space age type materials that can be used for colonization of other planets and stuff like that. It's just super fascinating. I don't think we'll see a lot of that in my lifetime. Like, I don't think we're going to colonize a planet in my lifetime. I do think we will harvest asteroids. Have we talked about that? That's something that I had a real obsession with mining asteroids. I don't know why. I think old video games made me think that that's a really cool thing that I would like to see in the future. So I started reading articles about the possibility of that and how like, theoretically, how long would it take for us to capture an asteroid or whatever and then begin mining it. And it seems super plausible that we'll be doing that in like 20 or 30 years. Like, the main thing that I think holds it up is that no one is allowed to own anything in space. So like, if you capture an asteroid, how do you claim that for yourself, or your own nationality, or your private corporation, right? So I don't know, but it seems super fascinating, and it seems totally doable with like basically technology that we have now. It's just a matter of someone doing it and putting it together. And the books that I read actually referenced that there are multiple companies already started in the United States that stated, like, operating plan is that they are working towards being able to capture and mine asteroids. Or maybe not asteroids, I don't know. I always mix up asteroid, meteor, comet. I always mix those up, so I don't know which one is which, but don't hate me. But you know what I'm saying. And I think it's really interesting. I don't think any of them have made any progress whatsoever, but it's pretty interesting to think about. Siphon gas. So we're just stealing some gas here. I have all these gallon jugs. I thought we're not really doing anything else of note at the moment, so why not go around and gather a little bit more gasoline? Honestly, this isn't even worth the time, frankly, because we're just going to move and have access to so much gas all over the place. So it's not really a desperate thing that we need, but why not fill our tank a little bit? We did do a lot of driving, so we are more depleted than we were originally. It's just, there's so, like, and gas is so plentiful in the world. This is not really an issue, but anyway, so I'm really fascinated with the possibility of mining asteroids and stuff, and it seems so plausible with, like, basically the technology that we already have. You know, it's not like starting a colony on Mars, where, like, we've worked hard to try and understand how we could grow crops with like Martian soil. Like, there have been a lot of studies for that. NASA has something, what's it called? It's a Mars soil analog. It's basically utilizing samples from Mars. They determined how to kind of build Martian soil so that they could do testing on what kind of crops would grow. So, like, it's not like they're not trying, but I don't think we're anywhere near actually being able to manage something like that. And obviously, you know, something like growing food in space, it would be very tricky. We've never done anything like that. Like, we've never made it to a point where we actually are building permanent habitations of any capacity. Like, everything we've ever done in space has been very temporary. And I think building sustainable systems is actually like a really complex and difficult thing. The human ecosystem is like so, like, our existence. Are you like a big dangerous dog? No, you're not, but we have more coming. I don't really want to fight a whole horde, so I just backed off. We should probably shoot the dog. It'd just be so much easier, but we went down on the first hit, no problem. I mean, they usually go down on the first hit, but hitting them is the is the tricky bit. We'll deal with this guy as well. Anyway, we live in like such a narrow margin. Like, if you change the oxygen content of our atmosphere too much, we die. If we change the pressure of our atmosphere too much, we die. If like, we're built for this specific environment, and the idea of being able to forge a permanent settlement in a completely different place. Oh wait, there was a park down here. We don't want to come down here. Yeah, I remember the butcher shop was next to the park, so that's not good for us. And we could push for the Last Man on Earth shelter. We talked about that in a previous episode. I don't think it's worth it. We already have all the tools we need, basically. And that's the main reason you would go there. You know, if you don't know, they tend to be primarily tools, you know, saws, things like that can be really valuable in the early game. And then they have a few firearms, but they're generally not super stocked with firearms and ammunition. And honestly, most of the time when I go there, it's a couple pipe rifles, which are not even good weapons. So if you're desperate, or if you're in the early game, super valuable location, but for an established survivor like we are, it's just not worth our time. So we're gonna peace out. And we got plenty of gas. I mean, we got what, 3 gallons of gas? 3.5 gallons of gas? It's plenty of gas, plenty of gas. Although gas prices are up where I live, it's over $3. We had that pipeline shut down, you might remember. The East Coast, there was a major pipeline that came under a cyber attack, and they preemptively shut it off, and then they turned it on like just a couple days later. But gas prices spiked up to over $3. They went up like 45 cents. And people were panic buying because people are really stupid. Even though they re-enabled the pipeline, and even though the flow is back and everything is fine, gas prices have not come down, which of course not, because the companies basically saw, I mean, I know the government oversees pricing and stuff, so like there's a narrow range that they can work in, and it's all regulated, but like I'm sure that it has some element of the company was just like, well, prices went up, why should we drop them when I can make more money? You know, and we can just pretend it's the pipeline slowing everything down, you know, oh, it takes months to get back up to full capacity, we got to leave the prices up. Super frustrating. I'm putting like $70+ in my tank every week. It's killing me. Anyway, I have no idea what we were talking about. The future's bright, man. Technology is advancing quicker than ever. Medical stuff is at the, I mean, obviously it sounds dumb, I guess, because obviously this is true, but we're at the peak of human growth, right? In every sense of the word. We, you know, this is the peak of medical science, this is the peak of technology, this is the peak of, you know, information being accessible to the populace. We're doing, you know, we're at our peak as a civilization. And it sounds dumb because obviously that's true. You know, every civilization ideally is just constantly at its peak, right? Until it crashes, and then that's the end of that particular, you know, civilization or what, empire or whatever. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty well. I mean, a lot of issues in my country, unfortunately, but those are all political. We shouldn't talk about that. I don't know. The future seems bright to me. It's tough too because, like, you know, I struggle a lot with depression. So most days, it's really hard to be motivated. Like I said, you know, I don't want to get into it, but like, my friend's son died, and it got me thinking about my brother. Oh God, I shouldn't talk about it. Basically, this kid He's like my age. I shouldn't say kid, but I mean, I shouldn't have said anything about it at all. But he OD'd with fentanyl, which him and his girlfriend both OD'd on fentanyl, and like orphaned their kids, and it's a whole big terrible situation. And it got me thinking about my brother, because he has historically had substance abuse problems, and he's been going out a lot lately, and you worry about what he's doing and if he's safe and stuff like that. And just had such a profound impact on me, and I've just been feeling really... I'm just sad a lot lately, and when I'm sad, I don't feel motivated. So like for me, despite the fact that I think the future is bright, on a day-to-day basis, it's usually a struggle for me to really do anything, and I don't know why that is, because like I'm a white guy in a first world nation, right? Like I don't have that much to complain about. I don't know why I get so down. In fact, I had a comment, so I'm going to call somebody out. I got a comment recently that was like, oh, he's whining about being hot and he can't run his AC. And on the one hand, I'm like, they're kind of right. I mean, that's such a pathetic thing to complain about when, most of your needs and everything are taken care of. On the other hand, it's like, screw that guy. So, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like I don't have things I should be complaining about, but then it's like, it doesn't matter if you're like a first world person or you're privileged or whatever, because to you, those things feel very real. So like, if I look at the world as a whole, I am better off than, a lot of people who, I mean, like, even with just the global stuff that's been going on, I've been able to get vaccinated. I was vaccinated. I got my second shot on Sunday. Feeling fine. I had some minor side effects. I had kind of a headache after and some arm soreness, but like nothing serious. And I had access to the vaccine, whereas a lot of the world still does not. And so from that perspective, it's like, well, what do you have to complain about? There are people literally dying from this disease right now. And but in your own personal mind, you are still experiencing, whatever your hardship is, even if, yes, there are objectively people who have it much worse than you in a lot of circumstances or whatever. And I don't know. For me, it's just it hits you, it just hits you harder. Your own stuff always hits you harder because it's personal to you. And like the AC thing's like a minor example, but like obviously we've spent months talking about my brother and his mental health devolving over time, and the death threats and the potential violence and worrying for my family's safety and stuff like that. And I don't know, I flip-flop a lot on feeling guilty that I am sad and depressed. Like I feel like I should... It's complicated, internet. It's complicated. Let's not talk about that. I shouldn't have brought that up. So I think the future is bright for humanity. I think it's just a matter of time until we work out some of the major issues that we have. I think the people that are in the positions of authority currently and in a lot of places do not reflect like actual people working together to grow and build a community and a civilization and stuff. I feel like we have a lot of issues in my country in particular with racism, sexism, a lot of misinformation stuff going around. People are very quick to believe whatever they see on the internet. There are a lot of little issues. I mean, not that those are little, shouldn't have said that. Not that those are little issues. Those are huge issues. But it's just, in the scope of things, it's not going to end civilization as we know it, right? Whereas something like global warming is actually like a very potential threat to our species as a whole. Whereas, don't get me wrong, sexism is terrible, but it's not going to collapse the entirety of the human race, if that makes sense. It's definitely something that needs to be worked on, obviously, but it's not like literal apocalypse type stuff. So I don't have my glare protection anymore. I shouldn't have said that. That sounds very dismissive. I was not trying to be dismissive. Where's my PBA mask? Probably here. No? Where did I drop my PBA mask? Let's go. V PBA is on the tool pile. Why would that be? Alright. Let's just start repairing vehicle parts. And if I just mash R, it will automatically jump to tiles that need repairs. Unfortunately, we don't have the materials to repair any of that. And let's just start from the front and work our way back. Because obviously the front of the vehicle... Oh, tires require... Used to be able to weld tires, which never really made sense. Looks like they require glue or duct tape or whatever now. Which makes more sense, but I haven't been making glue. Probably ought to make some super glue. Since we probably won't take all of our bleach and stuff with us. And I believe bleach is what you use to make super glue. So we might as well make some of that. And then that's the tire as well. Well, that's right. We never moved our tire out to the edge of our vehicle because it's just kind of annoying to do so, and it's not strictly necessary to have the vehicle function. So I don't know if we're going to do that. Oh, it's dark now. Alrighty. We're moderately weary. We did eat a lot of meat today, and in fact, we should eat a little bit more. We are trying to build up those calorie stores. Turn on the aisle lights. Make a little bit more meat. And again, we probably are running low on meat. Yeah, we're almost out of meat again. Just trying to make it through. Just trying to pump a lot of calories in us to keep us going. We've been doing a lot of crafting. Once we hit the road, that should back off a lot. We've crafted most everything that we really need. Not super concerned about it, but do we have any tea? Rotten chamomile. I must have picked that. I didn't know I picked any chamomile tea. So no tea. We should have some water, if we could spell it correctly. Drink some mineral water just to keep our thirst down. And I think we'll call the episode there. I feel not great about this conversation. I feel like I sounded very dismissive of racism and sexism. That was not my intent. Those are very serious issues. Anyway, that's a wrap for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to me talk about the possible futures of humanity. I'll be back with more Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead in the near future, and I'll see you in the next video.